What's up everyone, this is Haney Malamat and this is the video answer to today's What's the Diagnosis? Before we go to the answer, I want to show you an approach to looking at effusions on the parasternal long axis view, and this can distinguish between a pericardial effusion and a pleural effusion. What you see here is the descending aorta with that smiley face. And then we have the left atrium. These two structures are so important when we're determining whether or not the person has a pericardial or a pleural effusion. So you want to be sure that you identify both these structures. If there is fluid that goes between these two structures, then this is by definition a pericardial effusion. And if you see fluid that is behind the heart but doesn't cross through these, this is usually a left pleural effusion. So here's an example of a parasternal long axis view, and you see some anechoic space anterior to the right ventricular outflow tract. Looking beneath, you also see the descending aorta, you identify the left atrium, and you see fluid going between those two structures and circumferentially. So this is in fact a pericardial effusion. I'm from New York City, so we used analogies that involved rats. So this is like a rat tail going between the left atrium and the descending aorta. Well, whatever you want to use is fine. Just remember, something has to go between those two structures to identify that the person has a pericardial effusion. Now here's today's What's the Diagnosis? Here we see the descending aorta, we see the left atrium, we see fluid behind the heart, but notice how it doesn't cross between those two structures. That's because that is a left pleural effusion. And of course, you're going to confirm by looking at the person's left hemithorax, but this should not be confused for a pericardial effusion. And this tip is also going to help you when you have people who have fluid all over the place. Here's the descending aorta, here's the left atrium, there's fluid going in between those two structures and around the heart, but look at that, there's also a left pleural effusion as well. So that's the answer for today's What's the Diagnosis? Thank you everyone who played, and don't forget to tune in every Wednesday on Twitter to look for a new What's the Diagnosis. Please write us with any interesting cases that you might have, or just to drop a line and say hello.